everyone. Welcome to this episode of Accountable. I am so glad that you all are here, whether you are a small business owner, whether you are a practitioner, or whether you are just surfing around looking for podcasts, any of those things. Hey, I'm glad you're here. We are going to be talking about something that is seemingly something that has been a topic for a lot of folks that are in the profession right now. If you're in the CPA profession, you've been hearing a lot about the evolution of the profession. You've been hearing a lot about the transformation of the profession. You've been hearing a lot about things like pipeline issues and all of these other things. But the fact is that while a lot of times, while we talk about these things as if they are negative, the fact is that right now is, I think, an exciting time to be a part of the profession. It's a great time to be a CPA. But I think that sometimes I think we get kind of lost in the doom and gloom. And so that's unfortunate. I'm here to tell you today that it's a great time to be a CPA. It's a great time to be a part of this profession. And the profession is transforming in some great ways. And we have a great guest here with us today that is going to help us talk about how the profession is changing and how the profession is transforming and all the positive things that are going on in the profession right now. So I have the pleasure of speaking today with Samantha Bowling, who is a managing partner at Garbleman Winslow CPAs. And she has, in the background notes here, Samantha, I have to share this with you. It says you're a past chair of MACPA, Innovative Practitioner Award winner, Maryland's Top 100 Women, AI Innovator, Mentor, Auditing Standards Board member, speaker, and overall amazing person with a smiley face at the end of it. So that is quite an intro. I don't know that I can top that. So anyway, with that, Samantha, thank you so much for being on Accountable.
Thanks for having me today. I don't know who wrote that, but I'll have to make sure I send them some money after with a smiley face. So happy to be here. Very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So Sonia Guthrie does a fantastic job with our show notes, and so she is the one responsible for that. But other than that, you're not doing anything, right? Nothing going on. So let's talk about this here, because I think that your journey into the CPA profession and into kind of this managing partner role that you have right now has been an interesting one. And I would love to hear more about it. I think a lot of folks especially right now, are, kind of struggling with the pipeline and the profession and where the profession's going. How did you get started?
That's a great question. And I also like to say, thanks for saying this is a great time to be a CPA, because I would agree with you that technology is making things better for us finally, by offering flexibility and elevating us where we really want to be as CPAs. But my journey began in the 1990s. I'm definitely dating myself. So I've been in public accounting for 30 years, and I chose to go into a small firm because I thought I'd have a better chance of being a partner at a small firm. But I have to share this story because when I went in for my interview, the first question was, where do they see you in 10 years? And I said, well, in 10 years, I will be a partner. And this is in 1993. And the gentlemen in the room all laughed and thought I was joking, that it was like the biggest joke. And they were like, well, that's not going to happen. We've never had a woman partner. We don't foresee a woman partner. And I was like, wow, this is the 90s. And back then they still weren't thinking there would be a woman partner. Now, right. For me, I thought, well, okay, this is why everybody goes into public accounting for a couple of years and then gets the heck out. One, it's the hours, it's the opportunities that are available to them. And I thought, okay, well, if I actually get this job, which I did get the job, I will work for a couple of years, get as much knowledge as I can, and then leave. But after being there for a couple of years and learning how the business was run and learning how I could elevate myself to a higher level where I was almost indispensable as a staff person to a manager to a partner and becoming a partner, it was really all because of technology. So I leveraged technology from the very beginning, and I volunteered to do any kind of conversion, any kind of migration to anything, any technology that would make either the accounting firm run better or, the work for our team better. I volunteered to learn how to do that and innovate it and do it. So when I got to the point of my 10 years, they knew I knew how to do everything. Like
Yeah.
I was the backbone for the financial system. I was the backbone for all technology there. And I really elevated myself to the point of, well, they needed me to stay. Like, and so my option was I can stay as a partner and help grow this firm and continue to innovate, or I can just go out on my own. So
Mhm.
at that point, they offered me the partner position for the first time. So in a firm that had been around for, at that point, probably 50 years, never having a woman partner, it was only because I was able to leverage technology, improve processes, and make the firm better, was I able to even have the opportunity to be partner. And I also had to manage clients too. So in a small firm, usually you have to manage at least $1 million of revenue in order to even become a partner. So
Right.
doing that on top of everything else was really how I got to where I am today.
I think that you said a couple of really interesting things in there. Because I think that for a lot of CPAs, I think technology is scary. I don't know if that's a that maybe an over dramatization there, but I think for a lot of folks, I think that we're scared of technology. I think especially now, we have been hearing, and going to date myself a little bit here, but I think that we've been hearing, I mean, for at least 20 years, probably more than that computers were going to take over our jobs. There was going to be no need for accountants, anymore. And all of us were just going to end up, unemployed and sad on the streets, I guess. I'm not sure, and yet here we are. And I think that the profession is, in a lot of ways, is flourishing.
I agree. And I think we heard that about Excel. Remember, I think it was Excel. I remember when Excel was introduced, it was going to replace accountants and CPAs. And, look where we are. Excel's been around forever. So that did not. It made our job easier and it elevated us to a different level of thinking and a different level of data analytics for sure. So.
What do you think is it that sort of keeps us from being innovative as a profession? Because I think you kind of pointed out, the first firm that you walked into, it's the 90s. Okay, we're not, and we didn't make the, it wasn't like it was 1950. Okay, I mean it was 1990. And the first thing that they tell you is that there's no way we envision a woman partner in our firm. And I'm sure that that's is definitely made you want to work there, right? I mean, so there's no way that we envision a woman partner in our firm, and they were just very sort of closed off. I think in a lot of cases when it comes to technology, I think that we end up, feeling very closed off. So what is it that keeps us from being innovative as a profession? Are we just not creative enough? I mean, what is it that keeps us from that, do you think?
I think a lot of times the fear comes from not understanding what our role is going to be if we don't have all this time. Like,
Mm,
so focused on billable time and not necessarily on our value. So we're always trying to bring in more work. We're underbidding our professionals just to get more work in there, to work more hours, as
yeah.
opposed to adopting technology, changing how we work, and actually billing for our value. And that's the big problem. And then another thing is there, especially in small firms, so I'm a small firm, less than 20 people. So the resources and the time it takes to innovate a firm, it takes a person. Like you need to have a champion on board who's willing to sacrifice time
Yeah.
to not only still do billable work and also innovate the firm. And if someone's not willing to do that, then it never gets done. So the only reason we've innovated over the years is because I wanted to innovate. I've always loved technology because I saw what advantage it did for me. And then changing the processes has actually, elevated our staff and actually is contagious. So once people understand the benefits of technology, then and where they're going to be on the other side of it, they're usually more willing to adopt it. But you have to have someone willing to do it for you. And I know we're so busy just trying to get the work done that the thought to stop and use technology and figure out how it works and then apply it and change a process is exhausting. And I
Yeah.
understand that. But the problem is there are people in these companies, small businesses or accounting firms that want to change. But if you're not going to change the compensation structure
Yeah.
to actually pay them for innovation, then they're not going to do it. So, or they're going to leave. The great thing about the younger generation is they're not going to tolerate
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
terrible technology. But I would say in the defense of for firms that have not adopted technology because of fears, because as a small firm, we've gotten crappy software. Like
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
20 years of my career, it was terrible software. We were the bottom tier of the big producers of technology. So they didn't always make all the bells and whistles in our versions like they did for the big firms that use that technology. And they never fixed problems for us. So if there was a problem in a technology, it never got fixed. So my main message to those people who are afraid because they know they get promised everything by the salespeople, and then once it gets implemented, it doesn't do what they say it's going to do. I would
Yeah.
say now's the time. There's so many people, so many vendors making technology that really does work. So I think you need to either one, ask another firm and find out who's used the technology first, and then share the information. Another thing we do not do very well is share how we've done things, because if we did, we'd all be better. Like we'd all be better
Yeah.
off by sharing information. And I don't know if it's the fear of sharing processes or losing accounts, but there's so much work out there that there's no reason we can't share these ideas together and make everybody's job in public accounting a better place to be.
Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? I mean, it's easier for us to just kind of keep our head down and kind of slog through, I mean, the enemy that you know is better than the enemy that you don't, or whatever that old saying is. I mean, I think, that kind of shows through here. I think though that you also pointed to something interesting with compensation, kind of kind of a hot topic, I guess, right now is this idea of value-based billing. Um, how exactly do you go about doing value-based billing? Because I think that the sort of the argument kind of the other way against value-based billing is that essentially when firms try to do kind of value-based billing, that they end up looking and they basically say, okay, what services take the most amount of time? Those are the ones that we should charge the most for. And that's kind of almost like the old time-based approach. And so effectively, you've kind of said it's value-based billing, but it's really not.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we still do a mix at our firm. We
Hmm.
still do track time, and that really for us, but we don't necessarily compensate people just because they reached a benchmark of 80% billable. Like, what else did they do that was not billable? Like, did they improve a process? Did they change how we do something? Did they volunteer to look at a new technology? And so that's on the compensation of staff side. But
Right.
the problem is that they're not charging for the technology either. So if you're going to adopt a new technology to change your process, that's part of your cost. It's part of your value. So your value is built as a combination of, could be time, it could be technology, it could be the expertise that's required or the risk level that's involved with the kind of work that you're doing. Like for an audit, you would charge more because there's more risk involved. It's
Sure.
really looking at all of the costs that are associated with the job you're doing, including the technology, and figuring out what is the gross profit that you want to make on that, including
Yeah.
everything that you're paying. A lot of times they're just looking at time and measuring time as against what the revenue is, and that's not the right measurement there.
Yeah. So two important points there. So I think one, I think you're pointing out that when it comes to compensating staff, you got to compensate them for the right things. I mean, if you're just going to compensate them based off of, how much time that they put in, well, then guess what they're going to do? They're going to put in as much time as possible. I mean, is that an
That is
accurate?
so true. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we actually instituted this year a max. So we're trying to get rid of busy season, which I know is like it's a goal, a lifetime goal for me to get rid of it. But and we're putting a lot of things in place to start that transition. And the one thing is limiting overtime. So overtime is capped at 180 hours for the whole year. So if you go over that, I know a lot of firms don't even pay overtime, but I would caution against that. I think that when staff's working really hard, they should see the difference in their paycheck then,
Yeah, for
because they
sure.
feel the pain. Because if you pay them a flat salary, they forget. Like
Yeah.
they forget the pain that was to get that additional wages or whatever. So it's just kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So we always pay for overtime, and we also um, limit it now. So we're going to say we're going to limit overtime, but we're also going to increase your base pay so that you're not losing compensation. So whatever it takes to get you to make the same money you were making more, working all those crazy hours, we want you to make the same compensation, but less hours. So it's
Hmm.
also about partners making a decision to decrease their compensation in the first year for sure. And then figure out how to grow revenue based on value, truly based on value of what you're providing to your clients. And then we can change the hour requirement to get work done, because people are not going to stop working less. If once you start working more and get paid overtime, it's hard to go back and make less. So you have to get into the
Yeah.
same compensation level, which they should have been making that all along anyway. I always feel it. I've always felt our compensation, our beginning salaries for accounting have been way too low.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I think that's a good point. I mean, so once if you have somebody who's kind of constantly kind of going over time, then what's the difference between that and then just giving them that salary to begin with?
Correct.
But people miss that. You forget about that. That my base salary actually is this. So I think that's definitely true. Do you think that there's an issue with clients actually seeing the value of the services that we're providing? Because I think that's the other argument that I kind of see against this, and I think you even kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier on, that that especially right now, that it seems like a lot of firms were trying to sort of underbid each other, and we sort of bid our services down, instead of trying to sort of really show society and kind of the public at large uh what we do, which I still think my service is valuable. I think you feel like your services are valuable too. But yet it sort of seems like we get into this game where it really is just about price, and one CPA is the same as every CPA, so we're just going to pick the lowest price.
Yeah, and in order to change that mentality, though, you have to develop, I guess, deeper relationships with your clients, meaning
Yeah.
that the tax return is just a byproduct, or the financial statement is just a byproduct of the service that you are providing. Another thing we're trying to do is transparency with our clients, meaning that so many firms let their clients dictate how they operate,
Yeah.
meaning they won't go to paperless,
Right.
as their clients would never accept a paperless tax return or a paperless financial statement. Or you have multiple partners who each of them wants to use a different kind of a technology or a different process to get something done. And you can't operate that. It's not efficient. So the first thing you would have to do is change your processes so that they are all the same, and actually have platforms like technology that actually communicate with each other. So
Yeah.
that way you're getting rid of the redundancy of tax, and you're making sure that things are more streamlined, which will, of course, reduce the amount of time that work takes for work to get done and things like that, and gives you a better measurement of things. But until you stop letting clients dictate how you operate your business, you're never going to get there. And so we've decided, over the years, to transition and have one vision, one goal, one vision, and one process for everything that we do. And that has made it much easier for our staff, because they get frustrated when they have to remember who they're working for and what the process is. And we've also tried to say, it's not like I just have my clients and my other partner has his clients and other partner has their clients. We all have,
Yeah.
these are all of our clients. We all have to have a relationship. So if we decide that we're going to have this deep relationship with our clients, well, we can't have that deep relationship with all the clients we have now. We just
Yeah.
can't. There's too many of them. So we have to decide, who are the clients that we're going to work with? What does that relationship look like? And are we going to work with clients that just give us information once a year, who just want a tax return? And we have to say, no, we're not, because we can't, there's no value in that service if we're just
Right.
crunching numbers and putting out a tax return out at the end of the year. And usually those are the clients that drive us crazy. They're the
Yeah.
ones that wait 2 weeks before the deadline and give us information. So we've decided we're going to be transparent and explain how many hours we work in tax season and Most people don't even know that we work this many hours, and explaining that we have deadlines, meaning that we cannot control, we can't make Congress change the deadlines of these returns, but we can
Right.
control how we react to them. We're going to say, we're not going to kill ourselves to get all these returns done by, March 15th, April 15th, but we're going to do our best. But we're going to say, these are our deadlines. If you don't have information to us by February 10th for like a business return, you're going to go on extension. Like,
Right. Right.
and most of the time, if you have a deeper relationship with your clients, I can tell you right now, my clients do not care when they get their tax return.
Yeah.
So, because
Yeah.
we have monthly meetings with them, every month we know what their tax position is. We know what it's going to look like for the end of the year. We may not file the return, but there's no surprises. So I can easily shift that work that was due by March 15th to the summertime because
Right.
they don't care. It's just, again, just the byproduct of the service we're providing. They'd rather us help them with innovation inside and internally. They would rather us help them with strategic planning or, financial reporting or anything else but giving them a tax return. They have to do a tax return, but
Yep.
and we can't make them. Another thing is talking about extension. So many people are
Yeah.
afraid to go on extension, but
Right.
if their taxes are paid in and it's just a compliance thing, and we have to educate our clients, say, what does it mean to be going on extension? And if
Yep.
you paid all your tax in, there's no issue with going on extension. I know people are afraid they get audited because if they went on extension or whatever, but it has nothing to do with when they select a return for auditing anyway. So it's more about education about what do we do? How do we provide value? The tax return is not our value proposition. It is just like I said, the byproduct of the work that we do.
So many good things about what you just said there. I mean, I think that I think it's important for practitioners, if you're out there, if you're a tax practitioner, you need to hear that. I mean, because it really is. I mean, I think for such a long time, our profession, it was a volume play. It was a volume play, and that's not really going to get you to the spot that you want. If it's just about doing more returns, it's a volume play. You're not going to develop relationships, and ultimately, the clients are going to come to expect you that it is just it's kind of almost becomes I used to call it fast food tax prep. So, I mean, where it's just like, I go in and yeah, okay, I'm getting lunch, but there's nothing nourishing about it. I mean, I'm getting the job done, but that's about it. Um, it really is just a compliance hurdle. Do you think that sometimes means giving away business? Because I think that sometimes that is the fear, right? It's the fear that, I have somebody who is willing to pay for my service, and so therefore that I'm afraid to just say this is not the firm for you. And so I'm losing out on revenue. Do you think that is maybe sort of driving the fact why we let the client go through and sort of dictate to us how much we need to work during busy season? Am I onto something there, or is that
Sure.
is that off base?
You are 100% correct. And we have always never, I guess we've never turned work away in our profession. We've always said, oh, we can do it or we'll figure it out because we like to help people. We like to help people. That's why I became a CPA because I wanted to help people. So,
Right.
but the problem is we can't help everyone and we shouldn't be helping everyone. So one thing that we've done in our firm is we've actually decided we've gotten rid of revenue streams because of cost. We've measured the cost and we measure the expertise required with that. And we didn't really have anybody on staff that was willing to be an expert. So we're actually making people specialize in areas. I started out as an audit partner, but I had to know everything. I had to know audit, tax, comp review, everything about public because I did everything. So it doesn't make sense to be just good at, or let's just say good at everything,
Yeah.
but it would be better to be excellent and at one thing or two things, and then that's where you drive the value. So if you're just good at stuff and you're not the person that someone would give them to as an expert, then you really have a hard time charging for the value in that area. So this is revolutionary. So our new website, which I was terrible at, you went to our other website. So I became managing partner in this past July. And since then, we've changed our partnership agreement. We've changed our name. We're changing our location. We're moving in 2 weeks. and a lot of stuff. And then we've changed our brands. We actually went through this whole branding process to find out who we are, what our values are. And once you do that, that's step one. Once you find out who you are and what your values are, that gives you the benchmark to measure everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if your clients don't fit into your values, if your employees don't fit into your values, if your processes don't fit into your values, then you have to change them. And it's been revolutionary for us because now we've said, okay, well, let's build our new website and have like with no phone number, no address, no email address, no way to contact us. The first thing that you have to do if you want to work with us is complete a survey. And
Hmm.
then we'll tell you if you're the right fit for us. And if you're
Interesting.
not, we'll give you this lovely message that says why you're not a good fit for us. And if you are, then we're going to explain to you how the process works and working with us and how what that might look like, including the technology and what to expect and the deadlines. All that stuff will be given in the very beginning so that there's no being very transparent. So, and being very picky. So we're not going to work with everyone that wants to come work with us. We're definitely not going to work with one of our questions is like ranking things. So is like the most important thing to you getting your tax return done by the deadline, right? If that's the number one important thing to you, then you're going to be out because that's not our value proposition, getting your return done by the deadline. Our value is getting information about your business to make business decisions and keeping your accounting records current is the value and being able to make business decisions. So if that's your
Yeah.
number one thing, then you kind of pass that question and things like that. So we're actually building that into our new website. So that way we don't even have to be involved in the process of weeding through clients, all the calls you get. I can't tell you, I know there's so much work because people get so many calls, so many emails about new clients. You want to help everyone, but you need to automate that process and weed out those that you really shouldn't be working with in the first place.
So it really does become sort of an automatic vetting process in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would imagine that that was probably a pretty big transition for you as as a firm, right? I mean, because I think that, hey, we've been talking, I think to a large degree about habits. And, the habit is for us CPAs, hey, I've never met a CPA in my life that doesn't work hard, that they don't like, kind of getting their head, putting their head down and pounding through. Um, that's just kind of the CPA mentality. I think that it's kind of in our DNA to a degree. What you're talking about is something that's, is very different. And I would imagine that that was probably, pretty striking. To a lot of folks at the firm. Is that fair? Or is that accurate?
100% accurate. I have been told I've been crazy many times in
Yeah.
my career, but I've been able to prove it by results, and explaining the why. Whenever we change something, we always explain the why first. So
Right.
we moved our location. We've been in one location for almost the same, I guess, county for almost our entire existence, almost 80 years. But of course, we've changed staff. Where they live has changed over the years. And so we moved to a location that was closer to for our employees, and we're saving them like over 400 hours of commuting hours a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So that was the why behind that. And also, we're downsizing our office space, which we were already going to do that, but then COVID even made it more of a better reason to do that because we don't need all the space. Our team works remotely, that's for sure, our accounting team. And there's no requirement for them to work in the office at all. So, and that's, people can't wrap their brains around that either. But for accounting, we're very, very blessed. And I have to say the one, I guess, silver lining of COVID was that it proved we were already remote at that point, but
Yeah.
not 100% remote. We were already to do that. And once COVID hit and people could work from home, it proved to the naysayers in our firm that people don't work from home. So
Yeah.
now that we know we can, it's changed how we work. It's this work-life integration. So
Yeah.
if firms are not willing to do that, not even just firms, small businesses and their accounting departments, if their accounting systems can't be accessed in the cloud remotely or their teams can't work remotely, then people are going to find different jobs.
Right.
So they have to get there. It's very important that they get there.
Does this kind of this approach that you have adopted, do you think that it turns off some clients? I mean, because I think that that is again is maybe part of the fear that I think there's because I talk to practitioners all the time. I'm sure you do as well. And I think that that may be kind of part of the fear is that if I adopt this approach where I'm sort of not taking on as many clients as I can, if I sort of flip the sort of the standard script where the client comes to me and they decide if they want me as opposed to me deciding if I want them, that somehow I'm sort of like turning off good quality clients and that I'm giving away business. Do you think that there's anything to that, or is that just kind of our fear? What has
I
your
would
experience
argue the
been?
opposite. I would say
Yeah,
that my guess is you're keeping all your terrible clients,
yep,
and they're sucking up all your resources, and you're not really providing good service to anybody.
right. Yeah.
And that's why you
I
can't charge value because you don't really know what your value is because neither
right.
do your clients because basically you're just giving them a tax return or a financial statement. There's really no value in the service you're providing because you don't have time to provide the value they really need.
I think that that's an excellent point. That's very well said. I would agree with you. I can honestly say that of the client relationships that I've had to end, I have never regretted a single one of them. Most of the time, when we get rid of one, I was like, "Yeah, okay, I probably should have, recognized that maybe even a little bit sooner than I did." And then we usually get three more clients that are 10 times better than the ones that we had. And so I think that there's kind of this misnomer that you're sort of giving away business um, when you tell people like, "Hey, you're not a good fit for us." When in reality, you actually are maybe keeping yourself from kind of a better work-life balance, more profitability, and ultimately just kind of a better state for the profession and for you.
Yeah, and I always struggle with this because whenever we would have a potential new client come on before, I didn't have anyone to really give them to. Like,
Yeah,
I would have to do all the work to get them on board. So I couldn't even elevate my management team to the level of client relationships and building that relationship because they were too busy doing all the work. Even partners, like, even for me, working as much as I had to work just to get my compensation because I really got paid mainly on billable time myself. So without changing all of that stuff, none of this would have been possible for sure. So yeah, I would say it's scary letting clients go because you feel like, oh my gosh, that's lost revenue. But I don't think people realize the negative impact on morale that a
yep,
bad client has, or if a process doesn't work because they use an antiquated accounting system. There's
yeah,
so much opportunity. So I would say, first of all, if there's a client that struggles to get their information to you, I don't know that you need to necessarily say they need to go. I think you need to tell them, well, how can we help you be more compliant? How do we fit you into a higher level of service? Or that means helping you innovate to a new accounting system or getting you a scanner and teaching you to do paperless or whatever it is that we need to, if we need to be able to help our clients and figure what's going on with them first. And then if they're not willing to adopt the new technology, come on with your processes after that point, then you say, well, this is not working for us because we've tried to help you and this is not the relationship that we want to have kind of thing. So, and it's called holding people accountable for what they say they're going to do and
right.
what you say you're going to do. So accountability is one of our values for sure. So I don't want people just think you have to go through your client list and they're not going to do it the way you say to do it. You have to get rid of them.
Yeah, right, right,
We
right.
did paperless the first, I mean, I've been paperless for a long time. But I have other partners that aren't 100% yet. But it was a 3-year journey for them, for my clients. I'd say the first year, I alert them. I say, you're going to get a paperless return this year. You have the option to get paper. You can elect that if you like, but this will be the last year that service will be free for you. And the
Yeah,
next year, if you want
yep,
paper, it's a $200 surcharge for paper. And
right.
they're like, well, I'm not paying that. And so it's amazing how many people transition because they realize, like, why do I really need this paper? Like, when was the last time they ever pulled out their binder of their tax return and things like that? So and what I guess other people should realize, innovation and change is not an overnight thing. It can
Yeah.
just be taking one process that you innovate, whether it's like just business returns or just financial statements or one thing. And if that works really well, then the next year add the next process to it. So this was not an overnight journey for sure of innovation. It was years in process.
I think that that's a good point, but you have to take that first step, though. I mean, I think that that's also, and I think that that in itself can be scary, can be intimidating.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you say that because we always say, you know, as long as you take one step forward, as long as you're not going backwards or standing still, you're making progress. So one process, you know, one change is still a step in the right direction. So I don't think people get so hung up in that we're going to change everything. Like when we started using AI, we didn't
Yeah,
push AI out on all our audits the first year. We did
right.
it on one audit to see how that impacted and would it really make a difference, and then made that decision. And then the year later, we pushed it out to all the audits and changed our processes and things like that. So it's an adoption process, and definitely not overnight.
And if you don't mind me asking, I mean, how did it go with AI? I would imagine it was probably kind of clunky at first, but then you started to kind of learn how to use it, and also probably more about the right prompts and the right things to say. Is that accurate?
That's correct. I would say for AI, well, the funny thing is that I started in 2018 using AI, and it's changed so much since then. So like for me to get like a risk analysis for an audit, when I first started using it, it was a lot more manual process of downloading stuff, uploading stuff, cleaning data and stuff like that. I know this might sound like foreign language, but it was a process that took a lot longer. And then it would take probably like 2 weeks for me to get a report, to really see a report in 2018. Now it takes less than 5 minutes to get that report. And it's all in the cloud. Its technologies are communicating with each other, so it's a lot less work. So it evolves. And just because it doesn't work, a lot of times people won't use technology because it doesn't solve problems for every client. But you're
Yeah.
going to find that with any technology, there's limitations, and your client's technology can limit also what technology you can use. But that should not prevent you from moving forward and trying to find a
Yeah.
better way to do something with technology.
So, is it fair to say that the profession is kind of evolving in a few different ways? Because I see a few kind of common themes that I think that we pointed to throughout this conversation. One is that technology is not the replacement for us. It can be a helpful tool. So, finding ways to innovate that's going to bring us forward, changing pay structure, and then also, I think the sort of the third theme that I think that we've heard throughout this conversation is placing, you know, a value on your time, and not necessarily just always going after, you know, quantity of business. Sort of, I guess, you know, for lack of a better term, quality of business over quantity of business.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the three themes that you sort of see kind of going forward for our profession?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like for the first time in the accounting profession, we have people who want to make technology that's great for us.
Yeah,
We have not had that. We have not had that before. So we've had technology, but there's never been this much competition.
yeah,
Uh, for and there's so many different solutions that can do so many different things, and I understand it can be overwhelming for people just not knowing where to start. But if I could give them any advice, I would start with their state society, their state CPA society, because they usually have a lot of vendors that sponsor things and a lot of stuff that you can see that's free.
right.
And also they can connect you with firms who are already using it. So it's
Yeah.
always nice to find out what somebody did wrong when they adopted the technology, so that you don't make the same mistakes, and it's less taxing for you, for of course, to adopt it.
Well, and just as kind of a second there, I mean, you know, your state society meetings, some of the big accounting conferences, especially some of the ones that they put on, you know, especially in the summertime, you know, B&I conferences, things like that. Those could be a great time to actually learn about some of those things, because you got the vendors right outside, and they're kind of right there. The other thing is too is that you're also mingling hopefully with some of your peers and that kind of stuff. That's a great way to kind of talk about some of their experiences in dealing with whatever software that you might happen to be looking at.
Yeah, and I would definitely, whenever we would adopt a new technology, I would go to that provider's conference and make sure that I attended the roundtables where you got to speak with people about the technology that
Yeah.
are using the technology, because I learned so much more from that than I did actually from attending the courses about the technology. So for sure.
Right. Right. Yeah. So conversations over necessarily just the lecture based kind of approaches for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's go ahead.
I'm sorry, and most times you'll see a lot of CPAs when they get their CPE, they're not taking technology. They're doing their
Yeah.
tax, they're doing their test services. They should mandate that they attend a technology. I wish they would do that, but I don't know how I could get that done. But I would like ethics is required. I think technology innovation should be required because if
Sure.
we're not innovating ourselves, we're not innovating our clients and we're not doing them a service either.
So, Samantha, are we in a bad spot as a profession? Is this a terrible time to be a CPA?
No, it's the best time to be a CPA. It's the first time we actually have technology that's going to elevate us to a higher level of service because the stuff we were doing before we didn't want to do. Trust me, you can ask anybody in my staff. They don't want to do bookkeeping. They don't want to do journal entries. They want to be able to
Yeah.
look at a financial statement. They want to be able to advise a client in making business decisions and understand how people run their businesses. That's what they really want to help with. We have so much opportunity to not only elevate ourselves, but elevate our clients to make their lives better, to make their balance of life work integration because most of our clients are small businesses or family-owned businesses and things like that. And if we're
Yeah.
not helping them innovate, then what are they going to have left to pass on to the next generation of
Right.
their businesses? So, and that's my biggest concern is, and another reason I was so into technology is because I wanted to make sure that when I left, that there would still be people there to carry this firm on for the next, another 80 years again or whatever into the future. But I have to, if I'm going to do that for our team, if we're going to do that for our firm, we have to make sure our clients can do that.
Yeah.
And we have not done a good job. We have not, because we've been so busy just trying to get the work done or just getting the tax return done or a financial statement done and meeting a deadline that we haven't really sat down to figure out how do our clients operate their businesses, what technology do they use, and how can we make it better for them? And that's the value. That is so the value. I can tell you now, the ones that we have innovated to the cloud and put them on better platforms, they've been like, oh my gosh, you've given me my life back. Like they don't
Yeah.
want to do the accounting anyway, but if we're able to see what's going on in real time, it just makes it better for them to make better decisions about their businesses and also be there for their families.
So there you go, folks. I mean, so much opportunity right now and such a great time to be a CPA. Samantha, if folks would like to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to do that? To go to your website and or is there another way?
Well, I would say not my new website because we're not, like I said, we're not going to have any emails or phone numbers and stuff on there. But I'm on LinkedIn and I do check LinkedIn for sure to reach out. But they should just, and so I know that you're not an advertisement or someone
Yeah.
just need to say, yeah, you heard me on whatever. And usually I'll respond because I do get a lot of messages there too as well. But happy to talk to any firm or anybody or any business about what we've done and how we've gotten to where we are. We have transformed, and my goal is I have 8 years before I retire. So, which seems so close away. I have a lot to get done in 8 years, but I want to fix this busy season problem before I retire for sure.
Well, Samantha, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your insights. Thank you so much for your comments about our profession. It's an exciting time to be a part of the profession, and I think that you have illustrated that very well. So, so thank you so much for being on Accountable.
Thank you.